Hello and welcome back to the Greenhorn Photo Taker. I have one more post for you about the Alabama Hills and Death Valley road trip. Let's deep dive into my favorite photos from the trip and discuss what went right and what went wrong with my photography. And this is unscripted, so please bear with me if I start to ramble. Since the videos have been created, not necessarily posted, but since I finished the editing, I have spent, another 4 hours or so fine-tuning the editing on the photos. So what you see now may not be exactly what was in the video from previous weeks, but it's close enough and most people wouldn't even notice. But now that I'm done with that, I really wanted to see what went right and what went wrong. And part of what makes me want to do this is most of my favorite shots were the ones that were not planned and without a tripod. And I had to decide if that is indicative of the fact I'm not a great tripod shooter, or is it indicative that, hey, there are naturally more scenes during the day that may happen to be good, and if you're there, you capture them, versus trying to find that one scene, spending there for 4 hours, just through sheer statistics. Maybe that's why these photos jump out at me more than the ones that were pre-planned. But let's find out. This first photo is a great example of that. Not a wonderful landscape photo by any means, but it tells a story to me and captures what it was like to be in Badwater at the time. So this is Badwater Basin in Death Valley, and obviously, I should send a thank you note to these two people who are stationed way off in the distance, having a conversation and sitting still for me, basically, as I view this open expanse of Badwater. My skill in this photo was getting low and recognizing that they were there and getting into a position. But compositionally, I just basically put them on the rule of thirds and then decided to crop it at the end into this, I think it's a 2x1 format. So really love this picture, but I happened into it. I shouldn't say that. Really love this picture, but not a classic landscape photo by any means. This next one, I can't decide if I love it or it's a bit of a joke. This is the Devil's Cornfield, and what makes me intrigued by it, we'll say, is when I turned it to black and white, I had no idea what I was looking at in terms of the foreground. This could be Antarctica with an iceberg, or a field of ice, not just one iceberg, but a field of ice, or maybe it's chopped up snow somehow. But in fact, it was just the desert, hard pan, and what it looks like to be down near the Devil's Cornfield. So maybe for this one, just the curiosity of someone looking at this picture and trying to figure out is what makes it better than others. And of course, the snow-capped peaks are always something that I get a kick out of. A little bit further up the road, really looking down at the Devil's Cornfield from the heights of Badwater Road, I just like the vastness of this. That road going off into the distance, seemingly nowhere, is pretty darn cool. There are 3 cars there. I wish I waited for just one car, but I'll take the 3 cars. And they're pretty far away that it still gives you that feeling of solitude. But I like in this one car, you can see the dust coming off the tires as they're traveling down this dirt road. And then, of course, there are my snow-capped peaks again. So this one, I only like this one because of the crop I did after the fact. The original photo was much wider and just seemed like a snapshot to me. This next one of my favorites, and I've stared at it so much, I can no longer tell how much I like it or not. But it is one of the pre-planned ones where I sat for, over an hour, composition work, waiting for the light, waiting for the perfect moment. And I think I captured it. So obviously these peaks in the background, sand dunes in the midground, and these bushes were all pre-planned. I saw it from a distance, found the composition that I liked, and tried to make it work. Dust blew in from a bit of a windstorm. I think adds a lot to this photo as well. The one thing I wish I spent more time on there has to be a better way to show each one of these individually, each one of these bushes. It kind of almost like when you have trees in the forest, you're not trying to cross the trunks. So I wish I'd spent a little bit more time trying, especially with these two here, separating them out so they didn't run into each other. Other than that, I really love this photo. One thing that I wish I'd seen in the moment too, like if you zoom in, you can see people walking here, but I couldn't crop it that close and still maintain, any type of, when you crop in, you degrade the quality of the photo. So when I tried to crop in a bit on that one, it didn't work. So there are people off in the distance to show a little bit of scale, but most users or most people wouldn't recognize it. Kind of pre-planned. So this was within the sand dunes the next morning. I was there with my tripod, but in the moment, as you saw in the video, I basically spun around looking for a bunch of compositions. So I knew this could be something that was great, but it was not my main composition. But still, this sky and that mountain, that pink, was just awesome. That was so magical. My photography style is definitely more natural than trying to make this pop more. Like, I know that this might look better if I brightened up the foreground, but that HDR look is not for me, and I want my shots to be what it looked like in the moment. Or otherwise, I'll tell you, quite frankly, when it's not. This is exactly what it looked like in the moment. That sky was brilliant. Just those pastel colors are so rare like that. So I really love this shot a lot. Only complaint is that there is stovepipe wells here in the distance. I guess I could edit that out, but I try not to do that. And that's what it looks like. So this is Mesquite Flat Sand Dunes with stovepipe wells in the distance. This next one is an example of a failure. So this was that same morning in the dunes. This was the composition that I wanted, that I saw, that I planned for, and the picture is just not up to snuff. And basically it's because of these, and I couldn't see it in the dark, so I forgive myself, these white sections of really hard encrusted dirt just takes you out of the entire photo. Let me see if I can show the original picture here too. This was my original composition, which is fine. I like the sun, I like the starburst, but these sections of white hardpan are all my ICs, and I think really detracts from the photo. So this was a failed composition in terms of my own work. But instead, I did look at other options here. Most people that have seen the photos right away like this one amongst the best. I think it's okay. I don't like that the mountain back here dips below this dune, and I wish these two people were doing something else other than look at their phones. Maybe if they had their arms around each other or taking a selfie, that would be good. But they're a pretty boring couple in this moment. But other than that, obviously the dunes look amazing. There are a little bit too many footprints, but just the way the wind has since swept some of that away, I think is great. The sky is great. But this, again, was not pre-planned. It's a snapshot. I saw them approaching. I knew I was going to get them somehow when the light turned on, or when the sun turned on, or when the sun came above the mountain in the distance. I still love it, but I know it could be better in my heart. So if you watch the video, I had my initial composition and then said, boy, I wish I had planned on shooting these dunes. I did turn the camera and get them. And this is, initially, this was my favorite shot. I thought this was amazing. You got the multiple layers, the sky has interest, you have this gentleman walking down from his peak up on the dunes. But since day one, or since that initial thought of mine, what has taken me out of this is all these gosh darn footprints. If this area looked clean like this, it would be my best picture of all time. Again, I can't fault myself. It was dark, and I did what I thought was right. And I did see this in advance, but the footprints take me out of it. Other than that, composition's great. I knew the mountains would be dark. I knew it would come out exactly this way with the layers and shadows and whatnot. But those darn footprints, I can't get past it. This next one is interesting. I love it. This is not accurate, right? This is a hyped up ultra edit. But I also noticed that if you're watching on your phone, you probably can't see this very well. When I look at this picture on my phone, it does not look nearly the same as it does on my 4K monitor here. So if you're curious as why I'm happy about this, maybe you're on your phone and you can't see it as well. But I just love the wind-swept ripples and that golden sunlight with these golden specks of sand that just came to light when I was editing it, right? With my own eyes in the moment, it looked nothing like this. But just messing around in Darktable, coming up with this wavy type of composition, I really like this a lot. I would hang this on my wall as a fine art type of thing. And the last one from this morning in the dunes is another type of fine art where dark shadows in the foreground, midground has some mountains with some sun rays on it, and then blown out sky up on top of the horizon. Very cool moment. This is right after the sun popped over the peaks in Death Valley. Do I see anything wrong with it? The only thing I wish, again, was different. This layer briefly falls below this dark mound. But again, I picked the spot in the dark. I guess I should have went out there the night before and dialed some of this stuff in. I can't kill myself for it. It was the best I could do. It was 100 degrees the day before, and I could not have sat out there trying to dial in compositions. Last one from Death Valley. This is Father Crowley Overlook. Again, this is more important to me as it depicts a story of what it's like to, gotta wait for this car, what it's like to cross Death Valley, and in this case, Panamint Valley, which is part of Death Valley, because you have this wonderful winding road of Route 190, and if you have a monitor, again, you're not looking on your phone, you can follow this all the way into the distance and up towards Town Pass. That is a fun stretch of road to drive, and looking back on that is pretty darn great. Compositionally, I like how this just winds across the entire screen, and you have the multiple layers, but it was midday. Nothing I can do about the light, and I can't tell if I like or dislike this little triangle. This is the jut of land that I was standing out on to take this photo, but it really does blend in with the midground, even though it's many miles away. So that's just something to think about there as well. Not a perfect composition with that triangle. My first glimpse of the Sierras, this is probably nostalgic for me more than a good photo. In fact, it is. This is not, I'm gonna remove this from the best photos. This is nostalgia only. Let's go to this one. You know, in the moment, I thought this was a bit of an odd choice by me to take the wide angle lens out and put the Sierra Nevadas, you know, smack in the middle of the composition, even though it was so far away. But man, it has since called to me. Like, if I stare at this photo for a long time, obviously the two Joshua trees pull your eye immediately, but then you see, you know, dotting the midground, more Joshua trees, and then the layer of mountains, and then the Sierra Nevadas in the back. Now, this may not work well for you if you don't realize these are the Sierra Nevadas, but for the trip that I took, I really love this photo a lot. I'm including this for nostalgic reasons. Probably not a great photo, but boy, in the moment, I really love this. I was near tears over the experience of seeing this and reminiscing about a similar trip in the past. But is it a great landscape photo? I don't think so. Maybe if there was something in the sky here, but otherwise, this is nostalgic only. I remember working hard at making sure that each one of these trees was below the mountain line. I don't know. Let me know if you like this one. This one I can't decide. Not that it's a bad photo, but is it one of my better photos of the trip? Here was a pre-planned photo shoot I scouted the location and picked this out. I really do like this photo, but, and there's a big but here, like I wish there was a way for me to portray how huge these mountains really are. And that's where I think this photo failed, right? These peaks are 10, 12,000 feet. This is probably 5 or 6,000 feet. Like when you're standing there, you feel so small. And I still have that feeling looking at this, but I don't think it portrays how absolutely enormous Alabama Hills is. This cloud adds interest. I like the shadows here. So I'm a big fan of this photo. I do wonder if it shows scale. Another one of these fine arts. So this was a cloud that was in my eyesight all day long. And towards the end of the day, it honestly looked exactly like this, and it looks like a painting. So that's why I snapped the picture. I have no idea if it's any good or not. But I promise you that's what this darn cloud looked like. It was a painting, and it was pretty amazing. Actually, let me go to this next photo over here while I see it. Right, as you can see it in its more natural landscape. Boy, this is a fun picture. This one is growing on me. This shouldn't happen, right? This is pretty freaking awesome to have this cloud formation. I took some artistic liberty and really reduced the exposure on this area of rocks. But this is an amazing cloud, and I'm glad I took the picture. I just don't know what I would consider it. Fine art, landscape, something else. I don't know. I vacillate back and forth whether or not this is too much or too little, right? This is what it looked like. It was dark. The sun was peeking down from the side, so only sections of these mountains were lit up. And I love the yellows here, but I crushed the blacks on purpose. And now I'm looking at it, I'm wondering if I should bring them back up. I won't, because this is my final edit. Yeah, great scene in the Alabama Hills, sitting there with a tripod and knowing that the sun was going to do wonderful things to this specific area, and seeing it happen was great. Again, I think there's a scale issue here. I wish there was a car or a person or something to let you know that this is an enormous place. I think it's even more apparent here. From where I'm standing to the tip of Mount Lone Pine or Lone Pine Mountain, whatever it's called, that's 12 miles. That's 12 miles. And from here to the base is maybe 5 or 6 miles. So this area is vast and huge. But this picture does not portray that. It's just, there's too much. And with the compression with that telephoto lens, I wish I knew a better way other than to stick someone over here and hope he's a parent or she's a parent in the scene. This has become probably my favorite photo of the trip. Golden hour sun lighting up that area that protrudes right before the Sierra Nevadas with Lone Pine Peak, which is almost 13,000 feet. Just huge, just great. And this next one, I probably shouldn't include it, but I did because I can't make up my mind which of these three show that section better. But here was my third attempt at showing that one section lighting up with the sun. But I'm going to skip this one. This one has now become my least favorite, so let's not worry about that. We talked about the clouds. This one, I'm only including because, again, when I sent... Wow, that does look great, though. So this one garnered a lot of comments whenever I sent my album out to friends. The rule is, it's not a great photography shot if the only interest is the pinks in the sky, right? If you want a good landscape shot at sunset, there has to be more than just great clouds. This one might break the rule because these clouds are doing some really crazy wavy things. So this is one that I initially dismissed because of that rule, but now has really grown on me. Here are my two astro, photography attempts. I love these for my purposes, but I completely realize they are not great astro shots compared to people that know what they're doing. So, and why isn't it great? Because I am shooting intentionally here, trying to get the galactic core, but it was on the other side of the world, and this is just the tail end that was not very colorful. Couldn't help it. That was the time I was there. But it was the first time I've ever seen it, so I'm glad I took the shot. But otherwise, what makes this a good shot for my portfolio is just the symmetrical view and all these stars that were so bright in the moment that I was able to capture. Again, if you're on your phone and can't see this, I apologize. It doesn't look great on my phone. If I put it on my TV or if I have it here on the laptop, it looks awesome. This one is just a little bit different composition. I couldn't decide which is better. Again, I shouldn't be showing you both of these. I should pick my favorite. It just has a little bit more of the non-galactic core stars in it, which I do like. Next up is the sunrise shoot of the Sierra Nevadas. Here's a case too where I wish these were a little bit better. I really do. I think this whole area is way too muddled in all of these pictures. So I'm a little heartbroken that I don't love these because I really worked hard to scout this location and find this composition and shot. I really thought this worm-like feature was going to be great. I adore the pink and yellow on the peak here. It's amazing. But everything else just does not look crisp to me. And I know it's because it was, dark out. I honestly don't know what I could have done differently. But this whole section from the mountain below, it almost looks like it's not out of focus. It looks muddled, like the exposure is way too low or something. Same idea with these other two shots of the peaks. Again, I couldn't decide which one I like better. These are the same exact shots, only with the sun a little bit further down the mountain. That's where I'm at, right? Is the extra 100 feet of golden sun on top of the peaks a little bit better or worse than the previous shot? We're going to skip that. That's my own hang up. This is a little bit wider of an angle, and again, I'm going to skip this one. It's the same darn shot. I got to pick one. You don't have to be part of that process. I'll do that on my own. This one is a little different in that I have more of the foreground with this one prickly cactus here. I like that in the shot, but then I have this big rock that adds nothing else. So compositionally, this one, it doesn't do it for me, even though I really wanted to find a way to get this cacti in here. On the last day, I like the shot a bit. It's not one of my best work. I probably shouldn't even have it in here. Yeah, let's skip it. Shouldn't have included it. This one I do like though. So this is one spot in Independence where you can see the full range of the Sierra Nevadas, protruding from this low-lying valley with no other interest, which is cool. The sun peeking through the clouds and only portions of the mountains is great. So I really like this shot. Probably not a landscape shot, more of a travel photography shot, because there's not much going on here other than sky and mountain, and then the foreground is completely, identical the whole way through. There's not much happening here, but it is an accurate depiction of what it's like to be out there. This is why I like it. If I took a little bit more of a wide angle shot, I think this is 24 mils. Yeah. Again, I love this one. Same idea, but you get to see more of the expanse of the mountain. This little section here is actually the Alabama Hills. And this cloud, oh, look at that cloud. That just streaming off the southern tip down there. That might even be streaming off of Mount Whitney. I really don't know. And the sun just hitting the tops of these bushes, really cool. Of course, the one problem I have here is this dead plant. Should have seen that in the moment, but I was focused on this one because it was so much brighter, but I totally missed this dead spot. These next two are along 395. I remember seeing these cows from across the street and saying, oh, I got to do a U-turn. It reminds me of something from like Yellowstone with these vast mountains, craggy peaks, interest in the midground, and then farmland in the foreground. Very happy with this. I could not decide which one is better. I like the cattle, right? But there's something about this next shot. These bales of hay are so unique that this is probably the better landscape shot, but how do you pass up a baby cow, right? So I took them both and included them both. Again, This is not pre-planned. This is on the side of the road, just holding my camera up to my eye. So I should never be ashamed of that. If I find a good photo, but I'm not using my tripod, who gives a darn, right? So I have to get over that. Because sometimes I decide I don't want to shoot unless I have my tripod. And obviously, this whole trip is proving that narrative completely untrue. You can take great shots with or without a tripod. This is out of a movie. This is why I like this one. Here we are above Mono Lake, and boy, this area of foreground with these trees dotting the, countryside and horizon, maybe not horizon, just the countryside, with the mountains, looming up in the distance, really awesome. This is a tall tree, right? This is a full-grown pine that just looks dwarfed in this composition. I think that's why I like it. Again, it really depicts what it's like to drive up 395, I guess in April. In fact, that line there is 395. So that's the main 4-lane highway that you drive alongside the Sierra Nevadas out in California. Next two shots are Pole Line Road, my 500-mile detour. Again, not landscape photography. So my goodness, just to stand there and see that straight line road, Pole Line Road, I guess named because it's as straight as a pole, really great. Obviously this would be better in sunset or sunrise or better light, but I'm completely satisfied with how this turned out. It is exactly what I was hoping for. The snow looks great. There's interest in the clouds. Maybe if the yellow dashes weren't so crooked, that'd be a little bit better, but whatever. I'm fine with that. This is the one that's 26 miles. Again, it's so cool to see. I like the sign. I have to admit, there is a green sign jutting out behind here that I did edit out. It was just, it detracted from this so much to me. I just wanted this one sign. So I did take a little bit of a road sign out from behind here, just to be completely transparent. But again, I love this road. I love this area. And then finally, this one's in Nevada, out towards Hawthorne. And this was a moody sky. It was moody enough that I was definitely a little worried about flash floods. There were severe winter storm warnings for the high peaks around this area. It didn't have great cell service, so I couldn't quite tell where my route would take me. But this is a really fun sky, a really fun road. I even don't mind these telephone poles all the way into that distance. The only detractor here, not that I could do anything about it, this is such a large area of just shoulder. But, I think you only spot that after you look at it for a little while. So as a travel photography shot, even the mountain here is great. All right, so those are my favorite photos. That should really do it for the end of the series. There will be some 4K GoPro Hyperlapse Scenic Drive videos coming out in the next few weeks set to music. But there's no talking, you won't see me in there at all. It's really a Scenic Drive only type of video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with this series. I appreciate it. I had so much fun. I hope you did too. Get out and explore.